time for a serious closet clean out and declutter. Life's felt a bit restricted lately, physically, mentally, and emotionally. With my mom now living with me, the increasing coziness reads smallness of my cottage, and a hovering cloud of future anxiety, I've been craving space and clarity. And when that happens, one of the things I do is I declutter. I organize. I reset. Join me as I tackle my closet today and share some of the thoughts on the situation living with an elderly parent and a few of my favorite organizing hacks. I'm the Forest Fairy. Welcome to my corner of the woods where I'm rebuilding, revamping, redesigning a magical life and hopefully inspire you to gather your own fairy dust. Hello everyone, I hope you're having a fabulous week. A few storms rushed in over last weekend, causing really cold and windy weather. But true to the Cape's indecision on what the weather should be, we then had a few sunny days, and I even managed to fit in a beach and ocean reset. So as I've shared, the cottage is rather full and claustrophobic at the moment, and I've decided it's time for a clean out and a declutter, starting with my closet, where it will be more of a 3 birds with 1 stone project. The first bird, so to speak, is the swapping around of my summer and winter clothes. While not exactly tiny house small, space in general and storage space specifically is limited in my bedroom. The second bird is to check for mould, as every so often I need to inspect and wipe down if necessary. But this isn't just about clearing and cleaning. The third bird is that this type of activity helps calm my mind, soothe anxiety and overwhelm. It helps me reclaim some control, peace and clarity in a time of mental and emotional clutter as I navigate the idea of an elderly parent living with me and as I plan my life around this. So let's get to it. This is my closet, small, overcrowded and in dire need of a clear and a clean. I'll first be sorting clothes and accessories in heaps. Heap 1 is store, which will include my summer clothes. Heap 2 is donate. These are the items I haven't worn for a year or two and the items that don't suit my style or lifestyle anymore. And heap 3 is discard. These are the items that are in bad shape and can't be worn anymore. Please note that very rarely do items go in this heap as I pass on or recycle as much as possible. Some even become household rags. My children often joke about my passion for sorting and organizing and even call me sometimes for help in getting a cupboard, a desk or a system back on track. But the thing is that clearing and sorting soothes my mind and soul, and weirdly it allows me to practice my problem-solving abilities, a kind of decision rehearsal. These micro decisions about clothes and accessories are like emotional warm-ups for my bigger, scarier life challenges, and it feels like a safe space to gain and exercise clarity. Since the flood 18 months ago, the cottage's cupboards tend to get moldy, and no amount of empty cupboard, open window, open door policy seems to get it completely under control. I lost quite a few pairs of shoes in the flood, but I was determined to save some of my boots. However, I recently discovered when I hauled them out of their winter storage that despite days and days in the fresh air and hot sunshine, they still get moldy when in an enclosed space, a cupboard, a box, a crate. So I've decided to order a shoe stand and a boot stand for under the window so that they are out in the open all the time. Don't worry, I've cleaned off all the visible mold and I've added bicarb to the inside, which I change regularly. There's not much mold this time, but let's get cleaning. I don't use toxic sprays or cleaning materials in my home, so I'll firstly be cleaning the mold off with a mixture of vinegar and water. Once that's dried, I'll give it a spray of tea tree and hopefully that will contain the mold for this winter. As I was mulling over the topic of this conversation, I came across such an appropriate affirmation that neatly reflects my thoughts. Kate van Horn says this about cleaning and clearing. As I clear my space, I clear my mind. I release what no longer aligns, making room for new energy to flow. My home is a reflection of me, open, fresh, and ready for what's next. It's really tough to be open and fresh and let new energies in at the moment. I sometimes feel as if I'm not the daughter anymore, but rather the fetcher and carrier, the washerwoman and cook whose meals don't always hit the palate the right way. And the moldy stuff about this is that I feel guilty about being resentful sometimes, and feel guilty about being impatient sometimes, and feel guilty about being angry sometimes. But this is a time when I need to follow my own advice, and that is that guilt is a waste of emotion and energy. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my mother dearly and have now recognized that it's more than just about living with me. I have become her safe haven and total support as she becomes more and more frail, vulnerable and dependent. And so, as we wait for a vacancy in the frail care unit which she has chosen, I need to regulate my emotions, manage my life as best I can, and occasionally forgive myself and her as we navigate this phase. So I've cleared and created the clothes and shoes that I won't be using during this winter. There will be away in the loft, but close enough to get to if I do get invited to join someone on a tropical vacation. As you can see, the loft is storage for several items, but accessing it is difficult as I need both a long ladder and a strong lad to hoist the stuff up and down. My hanging space is simple. I know many of you organize your space differently, for example, by color, which is really visually very appealing. However, I prefer to hang garments by type. My tops and shirts, my jackets, a few cover-ups, and then my dresses. But my piece de resistance is this part of the closet and the way I store my knitwear. I roll my sweaters, jerseys, and shawls and store them in these hanging shoe organizers. This makes them very easy to see and retrieve, unlike piles in a drawer, or it prevents the stretching and the hanger shoulders caused by hanging. Drawn from a Marie Kondo book I read many years ago, I store my underwear, my bras, panties, socks, tights, and thermal tees folded to stand upright and stacked in small rows in boxes. Ditto for my long pants like my jeans, but instead of a box, I repurposed a drawer of a plastic drawer unit, which can now slide in and out. I had to dismantle the drawer unit as I didn't have anywhere to use it as an actual unit. My swimwear, PJs, and exercise clothing are also upright in boxes and baskets in my chest of drawers or my tall boy. Did you notice that I haven't packed away my swimwear? I've realized that my most important principles when organizing my closet are that firstly, similar items such as belts or items normally used together, such as my swimming costume, wrap and cover, are stored together. And secondly, that these items are contained or easily viewed, usually in boxes of a sort: egg boxes, broad boxes, courier boxes, apple boxes, or plastic containers that I removed from my kitchen years ago. Hooray for upcycling. The perfectionist in me tried to go out and buy beautiful custom-made matching containers in all sizes, but the Eco Warrior fought her tooth and nail, and as you see, the Eco Warrior won. And now I have a mishmash of containers. And while the containers allow me to use my shelving and drawers to the utmost, it also allows a bit more breathing room between the things in my closet. The Japanese refer to this space in between as ma, and it highlights the gap or emptiness that exists between objects, situations, or relationships. Check out the conversation I Tried to Be Perfect, then Japan Said Hold My Matcha, where I chat about more Japanese concepts that I've integrated into my life. So just as there's space for breathing in my closet, I've found I need space to breathe in my life, to regroup, reset, rest. I need space between my tasks and responsibilities, and some of the ways I do this is by walking, having a quiet cup of tea, connecting with friends and other family, and planning small getaways. And then, as I was organizing my containers in my closet, I realized I also need to determine what the non-negotiables and boundaries are that support my physical and mental health during this time. But this is a much harder one, as the lines of my life have become more flexible and forgiving on this journey of caring for a vulnerable person, and I really need to ponder on this. What I do know is that I need to draw in help more regularly, which is definitely not an easy task, and I constantly have to manage my expectations and assumptions. It's all a learning curve. And so there you have it. 3 birds with 1 stone done. Mold control done. Clothes swapped and closet organized and tidy done. And thirdly, calmness, clarity and control has returned for now. It's not about controlling everything, but reclaiming the areas I can control. There's also been a sensory shift within because as I enjoy the aesthetics of my organized closet, it also regulates my nervous system. Amazing, isn't it? It's also good to know that something small like tidying your bedside table, sorting your pet's collars and leashes are also nervous system regulators. Thank you for joining me while I organized my cupboard and self-regulated. Let me know in the comments what your closet hacks are and what activities help you calm and tame your mind and emotions. If you enjoyed this conversation, you may just like the one on how I lost my spark and the 5 ways I'm getting my fun and joy back. Wishing you a week filled with calm, clarity, and tidy closets. And, of course, sprinklings of fairy dust. Until next time, goodbye.